GOGI, GOGI. Learn GOGI tools, real lessons to live by.
Do tell, you've got some good news to share.
Yeah. Well, actually, I since you messaged earlier, I said, I don't know if they called you, the job called you for the reference or not.
Yes,
Or
they did.
well, I got the position, and I start next week. So,
Tell me
uh,
about the position. Tell me what you're going to be doing.
yeah, the job is working at with Johnny at Crop. I mean, working for the same company anyway. But my job is going to be a partnership associate. So my job is going to be to help reach out to other companies and organizations to try to get them to partner with Crop to hire Crop fellows or to donate or to offer classes or technology or whatever we can get to assist the fellows. So to try to get these other companies involved and to establish and groom partnerships to keep in touch with them and make sure they're happy with their partnership with us and we pull our part together as well. So
10 years ago, could you have possibly imagined what you're experiencing?
yes, because I manifested it. You
Yes.
know, I did. I mean, I my dreams were I never allowed myself to say that I was going to be limited. I said I was going to be successful one way or another, particularly with Crop or a partnership associate. Not necessarily. I can't say I saw that because I didn't know anything about that sort of position. But failure is not something I was going to accept in whatever form that looks like. So success is something that I had my heart set on no matter what, in whatever form that took.
Let's talk about that and the process of what is commonly called recovery, but really it's moving beyond addictions of any type. We've talked to somebody where their addiction was negativity, another person had addiction to drugs, another person had addiction to a gang lifestyle. How important is that focus, that drive that you had? How important is that in allowing the person an easier time in moving beyond that addiction?
Well, are you referencing to myself or to others, what I believe about others?
Well, maybe a little bit of both. What do you believe about others? And then what would be your recommendation for others as far as their attitude or setting goals? Because that's what seems to be a big part of where you are now is that you never lost sight of the fact that you knew you were capable of it.
Right, absolutely. And I've seen that a lot, which I'm sure we all have. Johnny's been in a long time and did a lot of time. But I saw a lot of people inside who they either gave up or they succumbed to the stereotype that they were supposed to be. You get that label, you get labeled and you're a prisoner and you're a bad guy and or you have life and you're never getting out. And so some people gave up. I had life as well, but I never gave up. I said, I'm getting out of here someday. I am getting out of here someday. But when I saw other people who also had problems of addiction, or whether it be alcohol or drugs or gang membership or no education or really hard childhoods, and that possibly that made it easier for them to give up or you know become more accustomed to the lifestyle inside. And so seeing that, what I would hope for people and what we're here talking about today is that people would become more involved in Gogi, because I think Gogi is a big hope. And I was never a gang member or a drug addict or anything like that. But Gogi can help you in whatever types of issues you have. But the one thing I say is I used to think I was better than other people. I'm not gonna say Gogi showed me I was worse, but I will say that in a way I was worse because I didn't have those issues, but I made bad decisions in my life. And I made bad, totally sober. I made bad decisions, totally sober. And I couldn't blame my bad decisions on gang membership or drugs or alcohol or a horrible, horrible childhood. I didn't have those excuses. So Gogi was perfect for me, and I think it's perfect for so many other people because we made those bad decisions in our lives. Whether it's those people making a bad decision, whether they're giving up on life, thinking they never have a chance to get out, or whether they make the bad decision that, hey, I'm in prison, I'm going to continue to use drugs, or I'm going to continue to be a gang member, or I'm going to continue to engage in all these other bad habits and bad decisions. Well, we all have our own different brand. I had my own bad decisions, and Gogi helped me make better decisions. And I believe for anyone inside, it can help them make better decisions as well, no matter what their issues are.
Here's my question. We have a person who has a limiting belief of some sort. You thought, well, I'm not that type of person. I'm not this type of person. And now you know you are so much more than you even thought you were. But there was a distance between what you weren't and what you now realize you are. There had to have been a journey there. How did the tools help you feel comfortable enough in the discomfort that comes with redefining yourself?
Well, the tools definitely helped me because, like I said, everyone has their own unique situation. My own unique situation was, you know, for a long time being inside, I was saying, hey, I'm not the gang member. I'm not the addict. I'm not this. I'm not that. And I'm innocent of the crime that I've been convicted of. So I don't belong here. I don't need to change. I don't need to work on myself. So that in itself is limiting. That's a limiting belief in itself that I didn't think I started going to groups, and I did it simply because I knew that the parole board wanted something like that. I didn't do it because I thought I needed to change or any help. Or back then, I thought my decision making was perfect. It was everyone else who was wrong, and it put me in a bad situation. So yeah, it helped me. The GOGI tools helped me to identify that I wasn't making right decisions, and it also helped me to realize that I was responsible for my own decision making no matter what. Because before GOGI, it was so easy to say that my circumstances and my conditions are all the result of someone else's actions.
Yeah, Coach Johnny, do you think that there are more than one person? Do you think there's a number of people who don't even know what they don't know? That individuals like Patrick who define themselves in a certain way and then they realize I do want to change. Speak to the person that isn't even feeling down on their life, or they feel different or not really part of a group that would need to do the introspection.
Once you're paroled, you walk into a world of that. There's not many people out here who attend groups or read books or trying to better themselves. Most people behave according to their old beliefs, to their experiences in life. And I've definitely ran into a bunch of people who thought they've had it figured out. Working as an alcohol and drug counselor, someone would come into the facility and a week later they're cured. I'm like, I don't know how that happens so quickly. And what happens is, I think it just continues. What happens is people have experiences in life and they're not getting the results they want. And they get to meet someone like Patrick or Ryan or Justin or Coach Al. And what happens, they're like, that's a life that I want. Now, how do I get it? And then they start engaging in the activities that they're involved with, like GOGI meetings on Tuesday nights, or they, start their own meetings, or they start reading the books, or start doing the workbooks and start doing the work. And what happens is they start identifying that they can make better choices, whether they've been using drugs or they haven't, whether they're part of a gang or they're not. I think Patrick raised a really good point, is people don't know until they know. And what happens is life shows up and they're not getting the results they want. And then they start questioning where they're at in life and how they got there. There's a concept that we have in some of the work that we do. And there's a concept of looking out the window compared to looking in the mirror. And my experience has been that since I've been out, most people look out the window and blame everybody else for where they're at in life, compared to looking in the mirror and identifying how they contributed to it. And if you continue to look out the window, then everyone else has the power. It's not until you're willing to look in the mirror and be like, okay, I contributed this way. It was only 5%, but this is how I contributed. And what happens, I'm going to take responsibility for that contribution. And then you have the power back to make those changes.
I love that. Would you agree with that, Coach Patrick?
I absolutely 100%. I couldn't have said it better myself than, and that described the journey I went through, because I don't want anyone to sit here, and I hope I don't convey that my beliefs that I didn't have these issues actually meant that I was better. No, I was blind. And sometimes, like Johnny said, you need to take that step and you need to have your eyes open. And that's why I believe GOGI is a big part of that. Because, you have several of the tools that cover stuff, that, in my opinion, bring that into focus. I mean, claim responsibility. It's about, because that's one of the things we talk about. It's about claiming responsibility for your actions going forward, rather than saying, well, this person did this to me and that's why I did it, so it's not my fault. Well, when you're claiming responsibility for your actions going forward, it doesn't matter what someone else did. We have to be responsible for our own behaviors. And that goes back to looking in the mirror rather than looking at the window and seeing what the other person did. I am responsible for my behavior. And that's one thing GOGI reinforces through many of the tools, that you are responsible for your actions, decisions, and thoughts. So I agree with what he said 100%.
Don't you find that a lot of people are just blind? I mean, it seems to me that the individuals that I work with in prisons and jails are sometimes far more illuminated to the truth than other people who've never been charged with a crime or did any time. They just seem to be blindly walking around as if the world owes them something, or that they don't have room for improvement. Do you find that in individuals that you meet?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I could say that, there's one thing that people who have been to prison and who have done the work have. Once you come out, you're going to run into a lot of people that haven't worked on themselves. And they're just as messed up as some of the people you see in prison who haven't done the work. They're just fortunate enough to have not been arrested, but they still have these thoughts, behaviors, and actions that you're like, whoa, that they haven't done any work on themselves. So we run into that regularly, not just in the street. We might run into it with our coworkers. We run into it with our bosses. You have to do the work. GOGI is for everyone, not just for people incarcerated. I've said it since I was still inside that I would love to see it taught in schools, in elementary schools, to teach young kids how to make positive decisions from the beginning, because there's a whole lot of people walking around out here that could use GOGI and have no clue and have not worked on themselves at all. So without a doubt, there's unknown quantities of people out here who have not worked on themselves who could use GOGI tools for sure.
Give me an example of one tool and maybe something very recently, how you used it. Because, we talk about the GOGI tools, and somebody's sitting there on a 2-inch mattress saying, okay, all this talk, how do I use it? Give me an example that we can share.
Absolutely. I've got a great example, because your journey's not over once you leave prison with the GOGI tools. We talk about GOGI being a lifestyle. Coming out and being on parole. And I want to say this, that I've seen a lot of people that come out and they're on parole and they totally lose all reason, about these things they said when they got out. But my particular example is about, I got out, and a couple months after I got out, it was my daughter's birthday. She's an adult now, and I wanted to go visit her for her first birthday. I'm in LA County. She lives in San Bernardino County. My parole officer said, no, you can't go. Well, I had promised myself that I hadn't been a father to my daughter the whole time I was inside. I mean, I was the best I could, but I wanted to be there for my daughter's first birthday after I got out. And when I received that no, that was a stab in the chest. And I was like, wow, I can't go. Well, I was in a transition home at the time. So, all the people I'm in there with the transition, they're like, just go. The parole officer will never know you went. It's only in the county next door. They don't care. You can go, and they'll never know. And for a split second, that started sounding good to me, because I had made a promise to my daughter and I wanted to be there. And this is a real life situation that you feel like crap. I hadn't been there for my daughter. I was locked up when she was 6 years old, and I hadn't been there for a birthday since that time. And this was her first one, me as a free man. So those struggles and that feeling of guilt come up in you, that you want to be there. And so when people start talking about, well, just go, they'll never know, you're only going for a day. And, I do it all the time. They're telling me, just go do it. I started thinking about it. Then my GOGI tools kicked back in. And I said, am I using my smart part, my emotional part, or my old habit part? The emotional part is telling me, just go. He'll never know. As long as you don't get arrested or pulled over or any law enforcement contact, you'd be okay. And of course, the old habit part is saying that, hey, well, why not? You're not really breaking the law. And that's the thing that I had before, making excuses for the things I wanted to do. But the smart part said, why would you go and risk your life. You've done all these years in prison, and why would you risk going back to be with your daughter for one birthday and then possibly missing them again by going back to prison? Yeah, so the smart part of my brain told me, stay your butt here and don't go. And I didn't go. And I can make it up to my daughter, and I can be there for her remaining birthdays because I make the right decisions now.
Did she understand? Was she angry at you? Was she understanding? When you said I can't be there for you, what was her reaction?
She was disappointed, but understanding. And I explained the situation. I believe I actually used some language, something like I just said. I might miss this birthday, but by missing this birthday, I can make sure that I'm here for your remaining birthdays.
Beautiful.
So we'll have the rest of our life to spend birthdays together.
When this gets aired on a tablet or it's on a phone and a YouTube, somebody wakes up at 3 a.m. and they're going through YouTube, finding this video. If you were to sit down in a private moment with someone who really wants to make a better life for themselves, maybe they've read a couple GOGI books or done a couple GOGI courses, speak to that person, that one person who needs to hear exactly what you're going to say. What would you say to that one person?
Well, one thing I like to say to some people who are sitting there is that there's roles that we play or that we accept in prison, or that sometimes you feel you have to fulfill, whether it's, hey, I hang with these people, or I can't talk to these people, or whatever it is. There comes a time when you have to make a decision and decide what's best for you and where do you want your life to go. We can all sit there and say you're never going to get out, or you can sit there and try to make your excuses for the things you don't want to do, or for your negative decisions. But if you are truly sitting there and you want to have that change, and you want to get out, and you want to have a positive life, and you don't want to be involved in some of the things you're involved in, you have to make that change. And you can no longer, or hope you make the choice to not conform to these previous beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors. And think positively. One of my favorite tools is positive thoughts. And when you can change your thoughts, your words and your actions are going to follow. And so I would ask someone to take that step, to think really deeply about where do they want to go, and make that decision to break away from the stereotypes or the pigeonholes that they've placed themselves in, that I have to be the tough guy, I have to be the gangster, I have to be this, or I have to be that. No, with GOGI, you can be what you want to be, and you can start that from now.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that goes back to something you do often, Coach Johnny. You have people actually write down their vision for the future. Can you talk to that for a moment?
Yeah, so for me, that was one thing that really helped transform my life. When I was in prison, I really thought past the next day. I was an active gang member, criminal, drug addict, alcoholic. I went to board in 2010 after serving 20 years, walked out of there with a 15-year denial, went into a 3-day seminar where they invited me to write out a 10-year vision. And I was like, I'm going to be in prison, so that's my vision. And they're like, no, if you could have anything, what would it be? And I went home that night. I allowed myself to dream for the first time, past the next day. And I said, I want to be an alcohol and drug counselor. I want to be married, and I want to be out of prison. When I went back the next day, they said, now the invitation is to start living from your future. And I had no idea what that meant. And what they explained to me was that you said you want to be an alcohol and drug counselor, but an alcohol and drug counselor goes sell heroin on the yard. And I said, not a good one. And they said, exactly. So when I was confronted with choices, I would make them from the future compared to in the past. I always made them from my past. If someone bumps into you in the past, like I would do something violent, or, say something that was inappropriate. For somebody who wanted to get out, man, you must be in a hurry. Thinking to myself, and just go ahead. That canteen, you must really be out of Top Ramens in order to cut everybody else in line and, run and trip people. So just understanding the importance of casting a vision and being committed to that, and understanding that on that way to that vision, there's going to be some tension. There's going to be some things that we don't understand. And the invitation is to not lower your expectations, not to lower your vision. Keep it there, fight through the tension, and identify, obstacles as opportunities, and know that you have a way to transform the way you relate to any situation. So that's something that's really been beneficial to me in prison and out of prison.
I love that. Coach Patrick, what are your final words for our audience, the individuals who are thinking, how do I incorporate the GOGI Life Tools into my addiction to whatever? What are your final words for them?
Well, I mean, number one, I'd say get into these courses, all the different GOGI courses. Start reviewing it, start looking at your own life. And I think a lot of things Johnny said is, what's your vision plan? And what kind of behaviors can you start to do that are going to be consistent with that vision you have? You can't say, I want to get out, I want to do this, and I want to do that. But like Johnny said, but I want to be a drug and alcohol counselor, but you're still selling drugs on the yard. You have to make these decisions, but you have to make the steps. I mean, even GOGI doesn't expect you to change overnight, but start making the first steps. Start making the first small steps. Start making little changes in your life, and you'll start to see these positive things that come from little positive changes. And then you can build upon those small changes into the person that you want to be.
I love that. So what is your vision of your life 10 years from now, Coach Patrick?
Well, I can say that I've been moving pretty quickly, and I hope this can
Yes.
I hope this can give people some motivation. Just really quickly, I don't want to use up too much time, but I got out. I've been out a year and a half right now, year and 5 months. I have my own apartment, which you see I'm in right now. I have a car. I had a job previously. I was a case manager for an organization called Re-Evolution. Now I've just been hired for the crop organization as a partnership associate, and I'm making pretty good money. I'm making $67,000 a year and a half out of prison. I've got a nice car, a nice apartment, and I just want to leave everyone with the thoughts that GOGI can help you get there. So these dreams and these goals that you have, they're attainable, but you have to take the steps, and you have to take those steps. And as I was talking about, little change, all that little change is going to build up to the big change, and you can have everything you want. All these dreams, they're not fantasy. They're real. They're possible. Johnny's doing it. I'm doing it. There's a lot of people out here doing it, and the GOGI tools can help you get there. So that's what I'd like to leave people with, is hope. And I was a person who was never supposed to get out as well. So I don't want anyone sitting there thinking, oh, I'm never going to get out. There's plenty of us walking around out here right now who at one time never thought we were going to get out, or the district attorney said we weren't going to get out. And we're out here walking around today, and we're successful, and we're doing great. And GOGI is a huge part of that for myself, and I know for Johnny and many others out here. And you can do it too.
So it's kind of like living the dream the GOGI way.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. GOGI does not end when you leave those walls, and it's GOGI for life, for real, and it's life changing.
I love it. I'm so grateful that you took the time to spend some time with us and share your story and share your insights. I just really am proud of you. Congratulations. And we might see a little bit more of you now that you're with Crop, because we have an allegiance, an alliance, and a collaboration there. So with any luck, I'll be talking to you more often.
Absolutely. I miss my volunteering time,
Yes.
I miss our time together. I miss Coach's cooking.
Yes, that's true. Many a breakfast I made for you guys. That's very true. Coach Johnny, do you have a closing word?
One thing that I do want to say, like if you're laying on your bunk in a cell and or you're on the streets and wherever you're at in life and you're unhappy, happiness is a choice away. We have a community of people who meet on Tuesday nights. You can look us up on YouTube and Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and everywhere else. And we invite you into our community, and we want to see you not just be happy, but continue to give that happiness to others.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And GOGI's a huge part of my life, and I attribute my success to living the GOGI way.
You and me both.
GOGI for life. See you guys later. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Coach.
Bye.
GOGI told me this, I got the tools to live by. G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I. Gogi told me this, I got the tools to live by. G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I. Gogi told me this, I got the tools to live by. G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I. Gogi told me this, I got the tools to live by. G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I. Gogi told me this, I got the tools to live by. G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I. Gogi told me this, I got the tools to live by. G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I. Gogi told me this, I got the tools to live by. G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I. Gogi told me this, I got the tools to live by. G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I. Gogi told me this, I got the tools to live by. G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I. Gogi told me this, I got the tools to live by. G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I. Gogi told me this, I got the tools to live by. Gogi!